So when I first moved to Austin, I searched for a faith community that I felt welcome in and fulfilled by, and couldn't find one. Part of what I have done to make myself at home in Austin is create a community that involves an interfaith gathering that we do generally about once a month. Sometimes it's based around the full moon, usually around the full moon, but sometimes other astrological phenomena like the eclipse or an equinox or solstice. What I've done for you all is gathered a few interviews. Actually, I had to splice out most of the interviews with some people who are part of this community, both a veteran of many of our gatherings and somebody who had just been to his first. I hope you enjoy.
So, first of all, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your faith and the relevancy and importance of community to your faith path.
All right. So my name is Jared Scherbel. I am a practicing Jew here in Austin, Texas. I have been Jewish my whole life. I've had my bar mitzvah when I was 13. And if you know about Judaism, you know that every celebration is about community. It's about celebrating it with your family, with your friends, with the whole Jewish community in your synagogue. The relevance of having a bar mitzvah is so that the community itself recognizes you as coming of age, and each ceremony is designed that you are not supposed to actually do that by yourself. Recently we just had Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. They're celebrations that are about introspection, about thinking about yourself, but being with the community. Rosh Hashanah in particular is the day in which you go to the synagogue, you unfurl the Torah, you are with your community, everyone touches the Torah, and then you all understand that the world begins anew with each new year. So community in Judaism is incredibly important because without that community, we don't really understand the roots from which Judaism comes from.
That's perfect, thank you. Okay, following that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience of the spiritual gatherings that we have here at OAH.
All right. So here at OAH, which Dash and myself and one of our former roommates actually started some of those celebrations, especially on full moon gatherings, we tried to highlight one single person that wanted to lead that single gathering using their interpretation, their faith, their beliefs as a basis for a ritual. Now, it was entirely interfaith, didn't matter where you came from. In fact, in particular, I think it was one of our first gatherings we had in which everyone went around in a circle and basically said where they stand on their faith. And we had everyone from Lutherans to obviously myself being Judaism, to Roman Catholics, to pagans, to those who didn't really have a faith. Here at OAH, it's not about what faith you come from, but rather understanding and trying to realize that ritual and belief is something that is fluid and we can all benefit from understanding each other. There isn't a single belief that is more important than another. Myself, I led a Passover Seder this past year, which was the first time I've actually led a Passover Seder, so it's rather interesting to me. Hilarious anecdote is that any Passover Seder I've ever been to, I've always been the youngest, so I always did the 4 questions, but this time I actually didn't get to do it, which I'm perfectly happy with, but it was a lot of fun being able to see a room full of 25 or more people sit down for an entire Passover Seder and go through the whole Haggadah and get to learn about my faith. And at the same point, thinking about the other faiths that we've had, we've seen one of our friends actually did one from the Nordic faith in which we got to hear his side and some of his beliefs and go through a ritual as well that was rather a very spiritual and actually just a good thing for a community. And I think that's really what matters.
So this is, we'll, for lack of a better word, call it the altar It's kind of the focal point of the ceremonies that we lead out here. There's a circle around it or a half circle, or people will be facing it. I feel it's important to have something to focus on, some sense of direction. This is in our backyard here at OAH. OAH is the name of our awesome home. In the background you can see the tree that, in my own personal faith path and in a way that is respected by the other roommates that live here, we kind of understand as the central embodiment of the spirit of the place that is our home. And I would like you to just take a moment to bear with me and appreciate what this place has to say. And so, Space, I just want to ask you about what you think about these ceremonies. So first of all, why don't you tell us who you are and tell us a little bit about what you believe, and kind of the relevance of community to that.
Okay. Well, my name is Avery, and I believe kind of a mix, but I just kind of like to pick and choose from different religions what I like. So mainly Taoism, but I also believe in reincarnation and I identify a lot with Sikhism. So and community. Well, for my entire childhood, I was an atheist. I didn't want to believe in anything. I just thought, material world, this is it. This is all I have. But then I had some trouble with drugs, and so I got into AA, and I started going to meetings, and now I have over 2 years sober. I'm going to pick up my 3-year chip in January. But so AA is really what brought me to start believing in a higher power, and AA, they urge you to believe in a God, but it doesn't have to be a specific God, it doesn't have to be a specific thing. I mean, what really struck me was when in a meeting some guy's like, I don't care what you pray to, you can pray to the shit you took that morning, you know? So that really struck with me, you know, like it made me feel good because I could pick and choose, you know, what I like and what what's me, you know? So mainly my God is just a giant pool of energy in the center of the earth that's connected to everything and everyone, you know? And community, well, like I said, I'm in AA, and community is very strong in AA. You know, the fellowship is a huge part of AA. And actually, a good example was I was in Dallas for work yesterday and the day before, and on Monday, I realized I hadn't been to a meeting in like a week, so I just posted. I was like, "Hey, I'm in Dallas." I posted on a certain Facebook page. It's like for Texas only AA. So I posted on that. I was like, hey, does anyone know? I'm in Dallas. Does anyone know any good meetings to go to? And some guy commented. He's like, hey, yeah, I'll come pick you up. There's this really great meeting down the road. And so he picked me up, and I went to the meeting, and I had a blast, and I made a few friends, got a few phone numbers. You know, it's the community in AA specifically is one of a kind. And so community is really important to me. And that's why I like to keep a pretty close group of friends.
Spirituality is a pretty important part of your life.
Absolutely.
I want you to, you've only been to one spiritual gathering here at OAH, right?
Yes.
I want you to talk about that a little bit, what your experience with that was like.
Well, it was pretty awesome. I hadn't, I typically pray and meditate every morning and every night. And I'd kind of been falling off the wagon for like the past month just because like I had some family troubles with my parents going through a divorce. So I hadn't like prayed or meditated in a month, and it was really, I came here, I knew it was going to be kind of spiritual. I knew it was going to be kind of a spiritual gathering. I didn't know how spiritual it would be, but it winded up putting me back in the place where I was comfortable, which is having a solid and conscious connection with God and getting back on my routine, which is praying and meditating every morning. After that gathering, the next morning I prayed and meditated, and this was the first time in like a month and a half. So it's really healthy. It's a good thing for people.
Awesome. So in terms of the actual gathering, like what we did, can you talk about what that's like in comparison to, say, the more spiritual components of an AA meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. So in an AA meeting, you go in there and you talk about how you got sober, and you talk about the certain steps you need to take, and just what you should do to reach a point of spiritual connection. And mainly we just talk about our problems and how we solve them. We don't typically talk about the problems alone. We share the solution. That's what our whole goal is, to share the solution. So we mainly just talk about the solution. We talk about how God is the solution, and how if you let him into your life, let him, her, it, whatever, into your life, it's literally going to set you free, and that's cool. So we mainly at those meetings we just talk, but here it was really cool. When I came in here, there was amazing food. I ate so much food, really good food, really healthy, just whole food, and so that kind of got it started. And then there was chit chat amongst the people that were here, and that was nice. And we got to talk about some of the other parties that I haven't been to, but some other people have been to. Talked about that a little bit. And then the climax, when we came out here and we did the little ceremony, it was really cool. It's definitely different from AA in the sense that it's more, it's right there. It's solid. It's not just some. It's not talking about a concept or an idea or something that's off. It's right there. You're actually holding it in your hand. You're actually holding the spirituality and the connection in your hands, and you get a sense of unity amongst the people that are there.
Awesome. Last question. So obviously you have an appreciation for the importance of community and your spiritual life. How do you feel the gathering here reflected that, or did you find relevance or importance with the people here in terms of that? Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah. I mean, it's the gathering was kind of like an all-in-one kind of deal. You come here, you meet people, you develop friendships, you get that sense of fellowship, you get that sense of community, and you get the sense of spirituality. It's really cool because it's not separate things, And in AA, I feel like they tend to put that separate, like, okay, here's your unity, here's your fellowship, and here's your spirituality. But here, it's all intertwined. It's all like God is in us, God is in everything, Let's all be cool together,
Awesome.
So
actually, let me ask you one more question then.
Okay.
Did you feel, in terms of the ceremony here, you said something about God is in all of us, which I like. Did you feel like it was restricted to any one faith path, or did you feel that it was? What do you talk about that?
Yeah, no, not at all. I didn't. One of the things that I love about you in particular, and some of the people that I've met through you, is there's so much respect amongst these people of other religions, of other beliefs, of other lifestyles, You know, there's no judgment, there's no separation, and that's where you get that sense of unity, because you know, no matter what you've done, no matter how you live or what you believe, you're human, and you're there. You're one with a spiritual connection, and that's God. You know. So it was you know, that night was a really good night. You know, you know, I feel like God had touched me for the first time, like, you know, a month and a half, and I, you know, for the first time in a month and a half, I felt like I was connected to him. So
Awesome. Thank you, Avery.
no problem.
So there you have it, a little glimpse into the spiritual gatherings that we have here at OA. Just for a bit of context, Avery, out of all the interviewees I had, his interview seemed most important to include a lot of time in. He went to one of the gatherings that I led, and I tend to lead them from an extremely interfaith perspective, whereas when other people lead them, I encourage them to do so from their particular faith path. It results in a great deal of diversity. It's really wonderful. I think that's it. Thank you for bearing with me. I hope this is okay video quality. All of this has been recorded and edited on my phone with a free app. Thank you.